alone. Well, guess what? Now they're not leaving the children alone. So I have to be consistent with my belief system. What do they expect me to do? I've said 100 times I'm a sexual libertarian. I accept your gay lifestyle. Leave the children alone. Are they leaving the children alone now? The answer is no. They're not leaving the children alone. Thank you for the call. It's that simple. So, Chris, KSFO, what do you have to say about the Boy Scouts and gay leaders?
Hello, Dr. Savage. I'd like to say this. They need to keep their sexual teachings away from our children. They're like a rebellious teenager that got caught in high school doing drugs, and now they're just acting out as adults. That's a really bad analogy. But I feel like they're adults that have taken over in the politics, the same hippies from the 60s that didn't like being told they needed to comb their hair or get a job or wear a suit. And now they're in positions of power. And I remember a couple years back ago listening to you talking about certain people doing certain crimes in positions of power. And I almost feel like they're bleeding into the Boy Scouts now and everywhere else. That's all.
Well, you see, you have a choice. You have a choice, which is to take your children out of the Scouts, the Boy Scouts of America. There is an alternative group that is not as morally ambiguous, not as manipulated as the Boy Scouts of America. It is founded on moral principles based upon the Bible, biblical teachings, and they're growing by leaps and bounds. The Boy Scouts have bled over a million youngsters because of these movements to the radical left. So you have a choice. It's that simple. That's the story. 855-400-7282. WABC, John, welcome to the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Dr. Savage, I believe in so much of what you say. I really do respect you and your ability to your willingness to go against the thrust of the national movement, unfortunately. But I want to ask you, if you believe that God is omnipresent but not omnipotent, why do you think he has any ultimate power over Satan, who's also omnipresent?
I guess this theological question is one best discussed over some theological wine that I don't think I can engage in right now. My simplistic conclusion is that if God really was capable of affecting our daily lives on a minute-by-minute basis, first of all, it would eliminate the concept of freedom of free choice, which I strongly believe in. I don't believe we're robots. I don't believe we're dictated by some serious forces from somewhere else. I think we have the power to make our lives be what they are up to a great extent, especially in this country where we have ultimate freedom. This is not true in dictatorial nations, but in our nation we have free choice, right? We agree with that?
Certainly, but I also believe not only in our nation, but in the whole span of human existence. I believe that God has given us free choice, and that's why He is preeminent over Satan in the ultimate scheme of things.
Well, why didn't he stop such horrible events as we're seeing right now in the Middle East, where the Islamo-fascist, anti-God legions of hate are killing Christians, Yazidis, and other minorities, setting them afire while they're alive? Where's God?
Well, he's there, but we have been victims from the fall of creation in the Garden of Eden, and that's our choice, but we have to decide how we're going to respond to that.
Right, and if we had a moral leader instead of the creature in the White House, he would have bombed them to the hellhole they came from. He would have sent them to heaven and let them enjoy the virgins they've been waiting for. What kind of president is this? They're raging through the Middle East, raping, kidnapping, murdering, enslaving little children, raping 8-year-old girls, and this grand illusionist does nothing, and he says it's not a setback? Do you believe a word that he's saying? You don't believe he's in cahoots with them?
I don't disagree with you, sir. You know, I'm terribly flummoxed by the fact that this guy who's in our White House has not supported American traditional values.
Well, right, and it rages from the streets to ISIS, to the military, rather. That's right. But let's go back to the omnipotence, omnipresent issue of God. What do I mean by that? If you look at the terrible things that happened to good people, you can't say that God wanted it to happen to them. Would you think he'd want a good person to suffer, such as a school bus of good Christian children falling off a cliff and all of them dying? You wouldn't say that's a godly thing, would you?
Certainly not, but that
all right, so what I'm saying is God doesn't control everything that happens on the earth. He's there. he may control certain things at certain times. Or ultimately, you have to come to the conclusion, which is horrendous and horrible to say, that God is indifferent, God is dead, or that God abandoned the earth. That maybe he gave up on his creation called man because of the horror that we've created on this earth. Maybe he just gave up on us 1,000 years ago and said, you know what, kill each other. We don't even care anymore. I don't even care anymore. And he's gone on to another universe or another galaxy. How do I know?
Not, because this is all part of his total cosmic over the generations of mankind, wherein he has allowed man to make his decisions and to suffer the consequences in his hope that they will turn away from their wayward, fallen state.
Real, and do you see that happening in a country where Obama is enjoying more popularity than he's ever enjoyed? How is that even possible? Do they even know what they're saluting when they salute the Grand Illusionist?
Well, as much as I love America, I'm a loyal, patriotic American. But even as I suffer at the hands of this guy who's now in control, I have to say that above him, God is in control, and God allows things to happen.
So why would God allow Obama to destroy this country? I can give you 15 different ways that he's destroying the country. Why does he allow it? What, does God hate America?
Well, in the big scheme of things, do you think America is that much separate from all of the other cultures that have come before us?
Well, Obama doesn't.
Well, I'm not talking about Obama. He's insignificant in the largest scheme of things. It's God who is watching over us. And has...
He's not doing too good a job in watching over us, is he? By permitting the Grand Illusionist to get into power and to continue to undermine the nation, I don't think God's doing too good a job as a watchman.
Well, do you think he did well watching over the Jewish people in the Holocaust?
No, he certainly didn't. And many Jews said that they threw God away after the Holocaust. I've had many Jews call me and tell me they threw their Torahs in the garbage after the Holocaust.
It's not diminish who God is ultimately.
I tell you what the Jews learned from the Holocaust. They learned to have a Bible in one hand and an Uzi in the other. Because as they were being thrown into the ovens, there was no one there to help them. They learned that they have to help themselves because no one will be there to help them.
But, Michael, you're not looking at the larger picture of what transpires physically on the earth and what God's plan is for mankind overall.
That's a big question. I know the old saying, the saying written by Thomas Mann. It was a short story which I quoted yesterday. God sees the truth but waits. I am tired of waiting for God. I am tired of waiting for God. I want him to come down and intervene right now and save me from the evil, especially the evil of this evil administration, which if we do not stop them, or God does not stop them, there will be no America left in the months that remain of this horrendous, terrible machine that is killing us all. I have to take a quick break. I'd love to discuss this further, but as you can hear, my voice is going again. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN. We have terrible breaking news on the Savage Nation. A kangaroo court in Baltimore has indicted the 6 police officers in the death of Freddie Gray. That's right. 6 police officers have been indicted in the death of Freddie Gray, according to the Twisted Sister, Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby announced just now. All 6 officers were indicted by a kangaroo court, and attorneys for the cops have called for this Twisted Sister Mosby to be taken off the case, obviously for her conflicts of interest, which are apparent to anyone except those in her own community. And that's the breaking news. And my voice is breaking up, as you can hear. I feel better, but my voice is worse. This is terrible. What's a talk show host without his voice? I'll start to sound like someone in radio who sounds like this every day. And I don't want to sound like that. I mean, my voice is really going. It's terrible to listen to this. I don't want to inflict this upon you. But unfortunately, I have no control over this. I hope I'm better by tomorrow. But I have a very long weekend to do nothing except inhale the great Bay Air of the San Francisco Bay Area, eat good food and drink good wine, eat a lot of garlic, stuff myself with vitamins and herbs, and see you after that. Anyway, what were we going to do? Oh, Obama on climate change. You've got to hear this. Here is the clown who is misleading America in every direction possible. The grand illusionist goes before the U.S. Coast Guard and listen to what while he's losing the war against ISIS because he's probably not fighting it for reasons only you can figure out, he goes before the Coast Guard and spits in their faces with this lie. Listen.
If you see storm clouds gathering or dangerous shoals ahead, you don't sit back and do nothing. You take action to protect your ship, to keep your crew safe. Anything less is negligence.
How poetic.
It is a dereliction of duty.
Wow.
And so too with climate change.
Wow.
Denying it or refusing to deal with it endangers our national security. It undermines the readiness of our forces.
Listen, the most grave danger to our national security is speaking in that sound clip. He is the enemy itself. I will remind you that nations have fallen before from the enemy within. This man walks openly amongst us and in the most mellifluous tones spreads lies that are poisoning the body politic as sure as the viruses of cancer will poison a human being. It's the Savage Nation. I'll be right back. Now, the maniac in the White House wants us to absorb Muslim refugees from Burma. The Buddhists in Burma know they're troublemakers. They don't want them there. That's why they're refugees. It's a primarily Buddhist nation. They've been at war with their Buddhist neighbors for a long time. And now we hear from Human Rights Watch that the Muslims are discriminated against. So we're going to resettle Rohingya in the United States of America because Obama wants to do what? Is he doing this because he wants to make America a better place or a different place? Is different necessarily better? To a liberal, they think different and diverse is better. They have not awakened to the damage they've done around the world. The character in the White House, the evil man in the White House, the enemy of America in the White House is working around the clock to destroy us. That's why I'm on the air. You know what he's doing now? Palmyra in Syria just fell to the Islamo-fascists. They now control half of Syria because he undermined Assad. They're taking over the whole Middle East. This lying POS in the White House has the nerve to say it's not a setback. Not at all. They're rampaging through the world. Now it gets even better. He wants to bring in thousands of Muslims from Burma. Muslims who the Burmese want to kick out because they're troublemakers. You heard me. Write it down and send it to George Soros personally. Federal Express. Listen to what I just said to you. Burma is 90% Buddhist nation. They have a Muslim minority. The Muslim minority has been causing problems in Burma for 1,000 years. They are now wanting to resettle the so-called Rohingya. You've got to listen to what Obama is doing, and there's only one reason he's doing it. He is overwhelming the nation with Muslim immigrants to weaken the Christian majority. These Rohingya cannot work. They have multiple wives. They're unemployable. They'll be on welfare. They will wreck our schools. Why the hell is he allowed to do it? Listen to this idiot, Marie Barf.
I think the Malaysians and the Indonesians have requested some help resettling people. We're taking a careful look at the proposal. We're prepared to take a leading role in any UNHCR organized multi-country effort to resettle the most vulnerable refugees. I note that more than 1,000 Rohingya have already been resettled.
Turn it off. I can't take this idiot. If there were war crime trials, she'd be up on the docket along with Obama for what they're doing to this country. This is the last days of the United States playing out right in front of our eyes. Should the United States play a leading role in absorbing Muslim refugees from Burma? Why would Obama overwhelm the nation with Muslim immigrants? There's only one answer. To further weaken the Christian majority who he hates down to his last strand of DNA. They will not work because they can't work. They don't speak the language. They'll never learn it. Many of them have multiple wives. It's part of their religion. They're unemployable. They'll be on welfare. They'll flood our schools with children who will require scarce educational resources to go for ESL, English as a second language. Then they'll force your daughter to take diversity training so she's not mad at them in the classroom. Why would you bring in Muslims from Burma Why would you bring in Muslims who are uneducated?